Hey guys, my name is Attorney Walter, if not the third. I am, of course, a little bit behind from what I usually am. Obviously, I just got out of the shower, so we're going to get right to it. I want to go through the basics like we always do. This is a company that I work at all day and all night. Yay. I've been working there for 8 years, worked for a couple other law firms before that. And then this company is the nonprofit that I'm basically starting. It'll be the first nonprofit that I've ever owned. And as a result of that, it's going to be about creating the future rights and freedoms of the human race as it travels into space to create new constitutions. But it'll also be addressing a lot of other things as well. It'll be addressing basically what needs people have, not just going into space, but also what current nations basically have in their constitution. So that's going to be spaceconstitution.com. Deanna Walters, howdy, howdy. How you doing? Very good, guys. I'm going to go ahead now. I have the phone somewhere around here. I'm a little bit all over the place at the moment, so give me 1 second to go ahead and catch up. Let me move the, that's a heat gun. Move this over here. Let me move this over here. Perfect. Excellent. Now, we did have some people calling in. Let me see if I can go ahead and grab some of those people who already called in. I'm sorry for starting late, as per the usual. Howdy, Florida couple. Howdy, Pamela Houghton. Lake by the Sea. Howdy. Howdy, Colorado. I like Colorado a lot. My uncle was the mayor there for a long time. Okay, let me see what we got here. Let's see. A bunch of people called in. Even my phone's still updating. That's how exciting. And all right, guys. So what I'm going to do is this. There's the phone. Okay. Remember, guys, when you are calling in, to go ahead. Hey, this is Attorney Walter Knott with Disability Resolution PA. How can I help you today? We are live. Remember to use a fake name. Would you like me to answer? Oh, hi, you there? Oh, you know what? So thank you, ma'am. Actually, we're live on YouTube right now, but thank you. I got to go. Okay, perfect. So that was a company real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the phone number in here real quick. Now, that's a phone number you guys call. If you want me to run hearing questions with you, if you want me to go ahead and answer specific questions, that's what you'll use. Now, while I'm waiting for the first caller to call in, just give me a quick sec. What I'm going to be doing is going through the changes that I'm noticing in the Social Security disability field. Right now, what's happening is that we are seeing a massive, aggressive approach to alleged onset dates. So the big way that the government is trying to save money right now is by reducing the amount of back pay you get. And also that equates to the amount of back pay the attorney gets. And what that means is that they are basically taking a lot of potential fully favorable claims and they're changing them to go ahead and be what's called partially favorable claims. And they're doing that by moving the alleged onset date. Now, the judges, the administrative law judges, used to have a lot of leeway with this. But what we're seeing now in the market of disability hearings, we're seeing that basically these judges are losing a lot of that authority, and the appeals council judges are reviewing all the decisions of the administrative law judges. So basically, we're starting to see that a new way that the government is aggressively going after saving money is by reducing the amount of back pay that you can actually tap into. Howdy, guys. Howdy, Linda. Howdy, Garden. So, yes. So I'm almost done with the top 200 videos. And the top 200 videos are those videos that are basically the hearing questions you're likely to come across as part of the whole hearing experience. When I'm done with that, my focus goes completely and utterly to spaceconstitution.com for any nighttime time that I have to work on it. I'm going to finish that website, and then the next thing I'm going to be working on is a series of videos. It looks like it's going to be about 10 videos in total because of how much I want to shove into it. And I don't want them to be ridiculously long, but they're going to be information packed. It's going to be kind of like a college course of information, just a little bit more fun on how to write a bill so that you can go ahead and create something that you can submit for senators to go ahead and use, for House reps to use to go ahead and push to potentially make into law. I'm going to essentially give you the missing piece, the missing link, the legal education to go ahead and create something to push on these politicians. Because let's call it like it is, the main thing that's missing from this whole scenario of people having power is that the people basically give to these legislators all their power to create these bills, to create these laws. But if the people don't know how to create laws or create bills, then basically they don't have any checks and balances on these legislators to go ahead and make that apply. So, all right. So with that said, Okay, so there's people that called in before 9 or before. All right, let's just do this. Here we go. I'm just going to take one of the callers that already called in to make it easier for everybody. Here we go, guys. Let's see if this person answers. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott with Disability Resolution PA. We are live on YouTube, and remember to use a fake name. Also, throughout this process, would you like me to answer a specific question or run hearing questions with you?
Okay. My thing is set up as my normal name.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't know what your normal name is over the phone, so you can just make up whatever your normal name you want to.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, walk me through. How can I help you?
Well, I was working for a few hours, a year, and this lady that I live with, she, I take care of her husband when she gets started, take care of him because he had 2 strokes, and anyway, so it's just a few things, get him some dinner and stuff like that. Well, when I put in for my vouchers, she put in 4 extra ones that I didn't do. So that made me go over my balance, for what I could make out of a year. And now, when they sent me the W-2, the 1099 NEC, I ran over. And I'm so terrified. I don't know what to do.
Okay, so we're talking about too much income. Are we talking about SSI or SSDI?
It's SSDI.
Okay, so we're talking about an SGA limit. So you went over the $1,300. I mean, why didn't you have her just go ahead and file a corrective measure with the IRS?
Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything.
Oh, okay.
This is the first time I've ever done anything like this.
Okay.
And I had no clue. I didn't know until I got that paper from them.
Okay, so there's a specific IRS form.
I never did get any of the money. She told me that the money never did come, but I know it did. She spent it.
Okay, so there's a specific IRS form where she can pull back some of the funds or the claim of funds that she paid to you. That's one way to attack this. Another way to attack this is to have her submit to the SSA.
No, this comes from a aging services that pays me.
Oh, well, just have them do that. The other way that you can do it is you can have that service go ahead and submit an SSA 795 to the Social Security Administration explaining that there was an overpayment that occurred. That would be a good idea. Another good idea would be to go ahead and basically figure out how much over it went and what your expectation is for the potential of, like them taking away the benefits for that month. So how much are we talking about? Yeah.
Something like $86, I think. I'm not quite sure.
It only went $86 over?
Right.
Yeah. So pretty much for something like that, you just submitted an SSA 632 requesting that any overpayment be
What was that called?
An SSA 632, because they're going to hit you with an overpayment. You need that SSA 632 form, and you'll use that.
Wait a minute. Could you slow down a little bit, please? Sure. SS what?
SSA 632. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. So what you're going to use is that to go ahead and reduce any overpayment claim that they bring up. And then at that point, you should basically be good to go. But I would submit to the IRS and I would submit to the SSA corrective measures so that, they have that. I mean, how long ago did this occur?
I worked the days back in June and July of last year. And I didn't know that until I got my papers this year for my taxes. Because evidently I owe taxes now.
Oh, so this has been a while. Okay, so in that case, yeah, you're going to have to file the corrective measure with the IRS to fix whatever the numbers they have on those output forms, and then basically from there, expect that you're going to get some sort of overpayment notice. And you're sure this is going to be over the SGA for 2020, correct?
I'm pretty sure because I'm allowed to work 6 days and that's it.
Well, it's not about days; it's about the amount that you earn per month.
Well, it's $100. It's $100 a day.
So you earn $100 for how many days traditionally per week of the month?
It was $1,300 altogether. Is what?
So you push it right to the end level. Okay. Well, I mean, SGA is like, for 2020, $1,260. But remember, there are allowance. Well, you could potentially find, if they really were a stickler about it, things that you have to spend money on that reduce your overall income based countable income and countable resources. You could always go that route too. So go look up countable income versus countable resources and see if you can find something there to go ahead and help you out that would basically reduce the overall amount of countable income that you have. Because, I mean, if you're talking about just 60 or 80 bucks, I mean, you can find something to go ahead and battle that,
But I think that's what I don't understand. Because I don't know anything about this kind of stuff. I really don't know anything about accountable income or resources or what that even means.
There's another issue here too. I mean, we're in May. So, I mean, why hasn't the SSA caught on to this yet?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I thought you had to do your own income tax, and I've been trying to get my my benefit, how much I made this year, so I can do my income tax, and I can't even get it in the mail. I've applied for it 4 times now, and I still have not received that paperwork in the mail.
Well,
from the Social Security office.
I'm not sure why they haven't caught it, but I have seen sometimes, and I've heard from one of the reps, one of the local FOs for SSI purposes anyways, that when it's an extremely low amount, like it's 20 bucks over or something under 100 bucks, they sometimes just do a quick write-off because it's just not worth it for them to go through the process of, basically withdrawing your benefits for a month, having to have you reapply, to go back on and show that you're not earning over a certain amount, all that stuff. It's just not worth it for them. So I have seen that. But with the new government the way it is, I mean, they are money grabbing from the claimants any way that they can.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm just afraid. I don't want any trouble. I don't want for them to garnish my wages or take my check away. I mean, I'm terrified of that.
Well, if they haven't done it so far, why are you thinking that they will? I mean, normally they catch it within 3 months. I mean, when did this happen? Was it December, November?
Okay, it was. I just got the papers on it. The 1044 NEC in February, March, I guess. But this was 2020.
Yeah, but when did it? So it happened in February, March of 2020, and they still haven't caught it.
Right.
I mean, I don't honestly.
Does it work that fast?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they within 3 months they got you on the hook, So I mean, to me, they would have caught that if they were interested. Remember, there's the law, and then there's making the law work within the parameters of what it is. And sometimes it's just not financially viable to have to go after somebody for $80.
Right.
So, but seriously, make sure you have the 632 ready to roll. Make sure you contact your prior employers and get that ball rolling. The other side of the coin is if you do all this stuff, you might, key them into something that, they weren't looking at to begin with. So you just kind of have to make some smart choices about where you want to go with this thing and what you think is going to happen,
What do I do with the SSA 692 now?
Say it again.
What do I do with when I do this? I think I'm totally confused. Is the SSA 632? What do I do with that?
Well, have that ready to go so that you know what questions you need to fill out and what kind of answers you need to give if they come after you for any back pay, or not back pay rather. You just download it from Google for your overpayment. So just make sure you have that ready to go. That way, there's no particular issue.
Just Google it.
Yeah.
From there?
Yeah, you just Google it. Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, okay?
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, we're going to go to the next caller. Let me see if I can get them on the phone. Here we go. Let's see what we got. RFC is residual functional capacity. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott with Disability Resolution PA. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this. And would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
A specific question?
Okay, excellent. How can I help you?
Well, what I was wondering is, I'm 2 years down the road on my claim, and I finally got a comprehensive exam and a spirometry test in March.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard that I should be learning within a few weeks of what's going on, but neither my disability firm or Social Security has changed anything. And I was wondering, I'm RA and COPD and severe asthma, and I'm wondering if my chances might be, if I'm wasting my time or if I should have heard something.
All right, so let me just get
stuck at 3.
Yeah, so okay, I get an RA, you got a pulmonary function test coming up. So you're going to be looking at your FEV1 analysis to see where you are on the chart. Help me out with this. Are you going to a hearing, or are you just at DDS recon?
I'm on appeal. I'm on second appeal is what it is.
Okay.
They started the second appeal in January.
Okay, you're at
And
DDS
they
recon.
sent me,
Yeah.
yeah, and they sent me to the doctors in March.
Okay.
So what I'm stuck at is 3 of 5. I don't see any percentage or anything like that on my case.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, I'm a new widow in January.
I'm sorry.
And I have no income. Thank you. But I'm 56, and I was wondering am I wasting my time, or because I'm staying living in North Dakota when all my family is not in this state.
Well,
so, until my case is finished.
I mean, I don't know how severe your impairments are. You know, that's kind of the bottom line. When we talk about that type of test, we're talking about breathing analysis, and we're talking about breathing analysis. Hold on, sweetie, put down Shadow's toy. When we're talking about, breathing analysis tests, the problem we run into is, first thing I'm listening for are you wheezing, difficulty breathing, difficulty, being able to go ahead,
yes.
So
yeah, I'm pretty bad off. They told me at my spirometry test that I wasn't very good. So
okay, gotcha. Oh, I would say this. Do you know what your FEV number was?
No, not right off. They didn't give me any of that paperwork. They sent it right to Social Security. So,
do you want me to show you? I mean, your attorney can call up the DDS rep and get the FEV number from the DDS rep. But do you want me to show you how to look up specifically what they're looking for?
Sure. Yes.
Super dupe.
You.
You got it. We're gonna make this fun. All right. So, are you by a computer right now?
Oh, not right this minute, no.
All right. Well, here's
if you have where I look for it at is what I'm wondering.
All right. So what I'm going to do is, are you watching me through the live on YouTube, or are you just calling me through the phone?
I called you through my phone, but I was watching on my phone also.
Okay, cool. No biggie. So now I'm guessing, is this a COPD analysis, or what kind of respiratory were we looking at again?
It was for the spirometry testing.
Yeah, but what was what was the impairment that you were attaching to it?
As far as what it was is COPD and severe asthma.
Yeah. Okay. So COPD. Yeah.
I mean, it's to the point where I'm going to be back on oxygen, because I was living in Denver and my husband moved me up here so I could breathe without oxygen.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting even worse, so I'm going to have to go back on it again.
And just for people watching online, Denver is 5,000 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5280.
Yeah, there it is. All right. So, all right. What I want you to do is, I'm going to have you write down the following. I need you to look up on Google Social Security Disability Listing 3.02.
3.02. Okay.
Now, you can look at the FEV, you can look at the FVC, and you can look at basically a couple of options here. But we're just going to, for right now, look at the first one. So, how tall are you in inches or feet?
5'7".
You're 5'7". Okay, so now we go to Google. Let's see, 5 foot.
Sorry. Excuse me.
No, you're fine. So that makes you 67 inches or 170.18 centimeters. So let's go over What was that? Okay, so let's go over here. We're going to go back to that 3.0. Let me find it real quick. Hold on, I have to click through all the boat stuff I'm looking at. Okay, so over here, we go back to the 3.02. We are female. We go to inches and oh wait, well we can use centimeters actually here. So 170.18, cool. So we're looking at over here, and we need the female. Am I in the right one for female? Without shoes, centimeters, 170. So we're looking at this one, and you're older than 20. So they're looking for basically a 1.45 FEV1 or worse. That's basically what they're looking for. So you got to find out if your FEV is there or less than there or really, really close to there, because sometimes they, add other impairments and, you make it through. That's what you're looking for. That's the thing that really would define essentially, whether or not you would receive disability benefits for that particular impairment.
Okay.
What other impairments do you have?
I'm severely asthmatic, so I can't even go out in the wind, which is real bad in North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
And I have rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
So I'm gnarly looking.
So you got some bad hands, bad knees, bad feet. What are we looking at?
Yeah, hands and feet. Okay.
And with the hands and feet, are you able to walk without limitation? Are you able to use your hands to pick things up?
I can pick things up, but just not. I don't do like dishes or cleaning or anything like that. I have my grandson do all that for me.
Dishes or cleaning. Okay, gotcha. All right, so look, I don't know what your FEV is, but these are classic older person items. Are you currently smoking? If you don't mind if I ask?
No.
Okay.
No, it's been 2 years.
Gotcha. Okay. So bottom line is this. At this point, I would need to see your medical evidence to know whether or not you had a good claim or a bad claim, which is probably what you're calling in about. You currently have an attorney. What is your attorney saying about where you're at? And since you've now completed the CEs, you should be getting a decision soon.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, every time I call, because I'm going through a disability firm, and they have me talk to different people every time.
Sure.
And I don't know if you want to know who it is or anything, but evidently the firm is so big, they're really minimal on information. And when I call, they tell me, I tell them what's going on in my case.
They're so big.
Yeah.
Run that by me again. They're so big that they're really minimal on information. Boy, what is that?
Yeah, I didn't realize that they were also car accidents and things like that. So it's a big firm that's on TV a lot.
Is it like your classic? I mean, I don't know if Morgan & Morgan is over in South Dakota, North Dakota, things like that. But is it like one of those types of big box firms?
Yeah, it's the Klein.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so
Mark Klein.
my recommendation is that you request to speak directly with an attorney there that handles Social Security disability benefits at the firm, and that you basically demand that they go ahead and give you answers of what their game plan is to win your claim. What's upcoming, what should you expect, timeline, expectations, because if you just had your CEs, you're going to get a decision in the not too distant future. And because of that, you need to be ready for the next step if you get a denial, which is, of course, the hearing level,
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I might end up in that. Okay, I was just wondering about that because I can't get any information off them whatsoever. And everything I'm finding out is actually through your videos, so...
Jeez Louise,
I appreciate your efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let me give you just a quick little run through as to what's going to happen. Did you go to one CE or two CEs?
Just one CE.
Okay, so that one CE, do you have another one scheduled in the future or no?
No, not so far. They told me they'd be sending me to a pulmonologist about 6 months ago, but they never did that. So, and in North Dakota, there isn't a lot of doctors that'll handle any of this, so they might have to send me clear out of state for a pulmonologist.
Wow. Okay, gotcha. All right, so the bottom line here is this. What I would say is, all right, so if they're not going to be sending you to an additional CE, then that doctor that you just went to will take about a week to 2 weeks to go ahead and write up your report. That report will then be sent from that doctor, which is called the ME, the medical expert, to the MSPC, which is the medical consultant / psychological consultant. And then from there, that MCPC will make a decision as to whether or not you fit into the listings or whether or not you're disabled, and they'll forward that information to the DDS rep. Once the DDS rep has it, they'll basically make a decision.
Sorry.
You're live. Yes, you're live.
Okay.
You're live. Good. So basically, no, I know you got bad COPD. I know how that goes. But so what happens is this. At that point, you essentially transition to. It's either going to be a quality control claim, which means they're likely to approve it, or it's going to be a field office claim, which means they deny it. And honestly, why are you in the Dakotas if you have lung problems? I mean, I get that it's closer to sea level, but.
Well, that was the thing. In Denver, my husband got scared because really I went downhill fast in Denver between pollution and altitude.
Mm-hmm.
So he got a chance to get a job up here in North Dakota, and the altitude's really low, which is great for me as far as the oxygen, but we didn't consider the wind. And then next thing I knew, I had rheumatoid arthritis also real bad.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that,
So,
you know.
And in the meantime, he died in January. So we moved here a week before COVID hit.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
it was all terrible timing, and I've had no income whatsoever since January. So now, for the first time in my life, I'm trying to get assistance through, get some health insurance and maybe food stamps, I guess.
Gotcha.
And
yeah.
It's humiliating,
You're going to have a decision probably within the next 2 months to 2.5 months. So just hang out for that. But just be ready. If it's a denial, be ready with what your next step is going to be, because a lot of people right now with the political environment are getting double denials and having to go to a hearing. And now it's harder than ever to get onto disability benefits,
Oh, geez. Okay, I was just kind of trying to get a timeline because in the meantime, everybody out of state is waiting for to do the celebration of life for my husband's funeral. And so I don't want to do any traveling, so I can do it all at once.
Gotcha.
So I just needed somebody to tell me what kind of timeline I might be looking at. So I appreciate your help.
Yeah, absolutely. And my apologies. I've got a sweetie, a little doggy right here who's a 1-year-old who's 80 pounds. She grew way too big.
You're all right. I'd be petting her if I was there.
Yeah, she's a good little
babies.
She's adorable. She's cookie dough colored, and she's just whining and bitching because that's what she does. She's a princess, Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, Madame, have an absolutely Well, Madame, have an absolutely wonderful day. I will catch you later, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a really quick, as you can see, Sweetie's not happy. I'm going to take a really quick break to go ahead and let Sweetie out because she's very spoiled. I don't know if you guys know that, but she is horrifically spoiled. And what we're going to do is I'm going to return, and then I'm going to go ahead and work on that Cat Velez claim real quick to help them out with those details. So give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. There, I think she had some peanut butter in her. Either way, we're going to go ahead and keep rolling. So the way you call is this. Okay, cool. Also, there was a question. I think Leanne had it. I'm not sure what it is. If you guys could put the question, I see something about a boat. If you guys can put her question at the very bottom, that would help me out. I see laughing and puppies. I don't know. I don't see her question. What is the question? Blah, 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 blah. Walter, does it mean if my sister's at the reconsideration stage and her attorney set her up for a physical and psychological evaluation, but then called her? All right, let me do that question in a second. Okay. Okay, here we go. So, hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott with Disability Resolution PA. We are live on YouTube right now, and I'm guessing you'd like me to go ahead and, yep, howdy, good sir. We're going to go ahead and run a specific question that you have. What is the question that you have, good sir? And remember to use a fake name throughout this because we're live on YouTube.
Walter, are you talking to me?
I am talking. I know you're not used to this whole YouTube thing, but either way, what was the question that you have for me? Just give me a quick outline.
I have my daughter here to help me. And to go about getting back up to my full amount of 783, you said there's a way to do that, but you don't do it, but you could talk us through it or tell us how to do it if I got a hold of you, and I'm hoping my daughter understands better than me.
No biggie. So what you're going to be doing is you currently have what's called an in-kind support and maintenance problem. An in-kind support and maintenance problem. So that's what you're going to want to learn about and research online after this phone call. In-kind support and maintenance. And what's applying to you is called the 1/3 reduction rule. Again, the 1/3 reduction rule. That rule is that if somebody is giving you assistance, they are allowed to reduce your benefits by 1/3, which is what they did to you. They took you down from 794 down to 500-ish. So somewhere in this, they found out or believe that they understood or have information about you receiving assistance from somebody, and they've reduced your benefits because of that. Do you know who the person is that they believe has been giving you assistance?
They said that I was getting food stamps, and I wasn't. From the moment you got me situated on disability, I never got food stamps again. I never even filed for them. I told them this. We seemed to get that straight. Mm-hmm. And that's where they were saying the extra money. I said, no, this is money that you had given me, that you owed me. You just didn't give it to me all at once.
So how many months, how many years did you go by with receiving the total highest amount of SSI before they switched you over to a lower amount?
One year, I got regular amounts, and I got a check for $2,300, back pay and all those other things. And then they started screwing around with it. It seemed like year and a half, and now this last year, this last year they've been down to lower than the regular amount.
Okay. All right. So first thing I'm going to need you to do is contact the SSA and find out why they've reduced your benefits. Who is the person, or what is the thing that they are claiming you are receiving assistance from that is, outside of the SSI. So I need you to call the local field office for the SSA and ask them specifically what it is that they use to reduce your benefits. It sounds like they're saying food stamps, but it doesn't sound like you're receiving them, and they would know because they can tap into that system. So do you have the phone number for the local field office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Okay, perfect. So I need you to call them and find out. Just ask them, what is the reason that you reduced my benefits? Once you know the reason for the reduction of benefits, then basically you can begin your work, which is showing documentation as to how you're not receiving assistance. But let me just ask you a couple of basic questions. Is anybody paying for where you live?
No, I have that, like I said, that loan agreement with my mom, and I gave her that money. But I don't, since I don't pay rent there, that's what I was trying to explain, the loan agreement with Mom. Mm-hmm. But they didn't seem to understand that.
So you have a loan agreement, you submitted to them. This is about rent. You're paying back your mom as per the loan agreement. So what are they complaining about? Did your mom forgive the loan agreement, or what happened?
No, I think it's just that I had too much money in my account. But the reason I had too much money in my account was when they sent me the check for like $2,300, and I put it in there and did not take it out. I read about it. It said that you have like 6 months or something like that to get it out of there, and they can't hold that against you. But that's the money that they're holding against me. I have no other income, nothing, food stamps, nothing. but they don't believe that. That's from, like I said, just the money they gave me.
What worries me is that there's probably other funds that you put in there, and those other funds commingled with basically the, the funds that you had in there from the SSA, plus the funds that you had in there from the COVID relief program. So, I mean, help me out here. Did you use that as like a regular bank account and not just keep it for those funds?
No, sir. This was well before COVID or any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. This was last year. It was, I guess that was maybe the second payment that they were supposed to send me out of like 3 or 4. They owed me like 12 grand. Mm-hmm. Now they've reduced my thing, said I had to pay it all back and did this. Now they're inching it back up a little bit at a time, but now I will not receive that last payment of $2,300 or $2,800. They took that off, so I won't get that. Plus, I'm lower than the 783. That's what I'm trying to get situated.
All right. So here's the first thing. First thing, I need you to call the SSA and get an accounting letter with an explanation as to why there was a reduction in benefits, because I'm not sure. It sounds like the funds were too high. There might have been an issue with them understanding the loan agreement. There might have been an issue with rental details. Get me that letter and then give me a call back, and I'll kind of walk you through specifically, what they're looking for and what options you have. But you need an accounting letter from the SSA that goes into basically why they reduced your benefits.
All right. Well, I was under the not that this is your situation or your job. I know you don't do these things. I know we did nothing wrong in the beginning, and everything worked out. It's just the money. There was definitely nothing else. I watched my account. It was monthly what went in from them, and it just added up by me not maybe spending it all. Added up a little bit, and then we got the 2,300, and that's why that happened. But I'll do what you're saying and asking. I thought you had letters when they sent them to me like that, saying they're reducing me to this. You got the same thing. You got the same copy, and it should tell you that.
I looked in your file, and I just have reduction notices. I don't have a letter that explains why they reduced it. But keep in mind, when you're not my claimant at that point, when this is all going on, I'm not watching it. They pulled back my representation, and this was years after I won your benefits. So the bottom line here is you got to call them and say, hey, I need a status update letter that explains why my benefits were reduced, because I don't have that. And I'm guessing you don't either, because otherwise you would know exactly what their issue was with why they reduced your benefits.
Okay, I will do these things. I do have a couple of things. Like I said, the first thing was food stamps. Then going back and forth, the lady said, I believe you. She seemed to understand the agreement, the loan agreement that we did with my mom to pay back that money, but then they couldn't see that I'm paying rent. And they're like, well, you're getting this money and you're not, what are you doing with it? But I'm going to do everything you said and see basically what I can come up with. I know how to get a hold of you on this computer now. And we'll go from there, I guess. Perfect.
Good, sir. Get the update for me. That way it gives me a clean shot at specifically what you need from the SSA, and then I'll help you out and basically get you back on track.
All right, Walter, thank you. If the point you said too, by 62, I'm being forced to retire early, so I'm going to have to start this in the end of December or the beginning of January. So I'm at 3 months' time. I need to do this now, but that later.
Well, tomorrow, give them a call,
All right.
Perfect. Good, sir. I'll catch up with you next week. Let me know specifically what they say. You can always give me a call during the weekend. I'll grab it from there. And then we'll kind of go from there. And then, since you're SSI, they'll transition you on to retirement at 62. All right, good, sir.
Thank you, Walter. I will do these things and we'll go from there. Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, good sir. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. So that was a claimant who basically, and I'm seeing a lot of this with SSI claimants, represented him years and years and years ago, won his benefits, and then they reduced his benefits, and now he's wondering, well, why the heck are they doing this? I want to see a specific letter from the SSA where they explain the reasoning, because that puts their nickel on the table, and then you can use that to prove why they're wrong. But until you have that form, until you have that sheet, that paper, it's difficult, because you could have any person at the local field office tell you anything, and that's not something you can pin them to and make the SSA change. So, all right, now there was a question. The question was this. Let me read it real quick. Walter, what does it mean if my sister is at the reconsideration stage and her attorney set her up for a physical and psychological evaluation, but then called her last week and canceled both and told her what? And just told her. That means that they probably either A, have enough medical evidence from other doctors that she's seeing to go ahead and basically, cancel those CEs, so she wouldn't need to go to see their doctors. Or B, they feel that she's so unlikely to be found disabled from the medical evidence that they have on file that they're not going to spend the money to send her to CE appointments. So that's usually what that means. It means that either they have enough medical evidence, or it's just so unlikely that she's disabled that they just don't even need to send her to an ME. And remember, the person who makes the decision with that usually is the MCPC. So there's two medical doctors that you're usually dealing with at the SSA DDS level. There's the medical consultant, and then there's the medical expert. The medical expert, the ME, is the person you go to see when you go to your CEs, your consultative examinations, when you go to see that doctor. That's the ME. The MC is the doctor that basically is a consultant. They just receive forms from the medical expert. They receive forms from the DDS rep. They look them over and then make a decision as to whether or not the person is likely disabled based upon the medical record that's been submitted. Okay. Howdy, Mr. Brighton. Yes. How can I help you with a question or an answer? Okay. So, guys, while I'm waiting for that, yes, indeed. Okay, cool. So, all right. So let's see. Yes, I appreciate it. Mary G, if you guys would hit the like button, I super appreciate it, because it helps other people find this channel. And we are starting to branch out more into Facebook. We're starting to branch out more into Vimeo and stuff like that. So that is good as well. But the marketplace, when it comes to advertising, is just completely purchased up by these mega big box firms. But it is what it is. People look at the reviews and they make choices based on that. Our reviews are awesome. So that's really good. Okay, so what changes were there for disability, Walter? Well, there's a lot of changes. So I know I started to talk to you guys about the mega change, which is that they wiped out all the old wording, specifically for the musculoskeletal-based listings, the 1.0s. Let me get you a link real quick. Now, you'll see SSA listing 1.0. You'll see in this link that basically it doesn't start with 1.01, 1.02, 1.03, etc. It goes straight to like 1.01, 1.15. They wiped out what we had. They wiped it out. And the new changes, some of them are pretty much the same. Some of them, it's drastic. Some of them, they cut out the whole ambulation options. It's just not good. And basically what these are about weight-bearing joints, amputations, bones that are fusing together. That's what these are all about. This includes your categories of arthritis. This includes your categories of having pinched nerve problems that are interacting with your musculoskeletal movement and degrees of movement. So basically, it's just one of those things where, and I didn't think it was going to happen because, President Biden was supposed to be a Democrat, liberal, not make the system tougher to be found disabled. But unfortunately, it just seems like, and I'm going to say this, you guys can hate me for it, and I understand if you do want to hate me for it, but it seems like the emphasis is all on immigrants into this country and not on retirement, disabled, and working Americans. It just seems like the disabled, the retired, and the working Americans, and the kids going to school, these should be way up here, and mass, assimilation of immigrants should be way lower. And the problem I'm seeing is that ultimately we're giving out billions of dollars to all these other countries. And I understand there's international agreements. I understand we have under the table deals as a country, and I understand all that. But the problem is, our retired, our disabled, our working Americans, our children, they come first. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think, but they come first. That's the bottom line. The immigrants that want to come into this country, they should not be coming first. And unfortunately, the immigrants are now significantly more important when it comes to handing out money, making it easier for people to, get resources than the Social Security claimants. And that's sad because all I've been seeing is I've been seeing Appeals Council 8001 rules, which is where you're getting fully favorable decisions. And the ALJ will decide, I agree, you're disabled. And then the Appeals Council administrative law judge will administrative appellate judge will jump in, take that fully favorable and wipe it out. I'm seeing that when they would hardly ever do that before. I'm seeing mass reduction of back pay with decisions. Getting a fully favorable for a couple of years back is becoming more and more of a rarity. I'm seeing DDS managers deny claims. I'm seeing DDS managers basically go ahead and the person will go up for quality control and quality control will send it back. It'll go up for quality control and quality control will send it back. It's basically any opportunity that this program, this system has to make it harder for a person to be found disabled is now a cog that is turning. So while I thought Biden was going to make this a lot easier for people to be found disabled, unfortunately, he's actually now making it harder than Trump did. And, Trump had pretty much the worst rule change out of all the presidents in my time of doing this, which was that he got rid of the weight of the medical evidence of your seeing physician being greater than other options, other evidence, other medical physicians. He got rid of that. But compared to all these little cogs of deny, re-review, and reduction of back pay, Biden's the winner now. Out of Obama, Trump, and Biden's the winner for making disability benefits the hardest system that has ever been tried to basically go on to. And I don't say this with pleasure. I very strongly felt that he was going to make this easier for everybody. In fact, one of the big videos that I had that YouTube promoted, because it was a very pro-Biden video, they promoted. They got like 300 and something thousand views. Unfortunately, every single thing that I read to you from his pre-presidential plan, not only has it not happened, it's not been mentioned again. And basically, we're at this point where it just looks like he was very disingenuous with his actions. That's basically what it is. He did make things better. Things are far worse. You could blame that on Commissioner Saul. Commissioner Saul, I don't know much about him. I don't know much about what he's doing, to be honest with you. I catch little snippets from the NOSCR outputs and their website. But kind of the bottom line is the whole system's getting significantly harder for people to be found disabled. So let me go to some of these questions. But I know it hurts more after this. Okay, let's see. Steffi G. No, the problem is not immigrants or other people. The problem is that the rich are not taxed and even getting subsidized. Well, so here's the thing. The rich do. So there's different levels of rich, right? You have the rich that are like the 5 millionaires and the 10 millionaires, and they're getting taxed. And then you have the 1 billionaires, 5 billionaires and up. And what they do is they transfer their funds through company headquarters to usually a place such as, which has the best tax codes, Ireland. And then they have the funds and the banking be done in the Caribbean. And that's basically how they get away from being taxed. So you're correct in that. That's one of the big problems. But the immigrants are also a much bigger problem because the cost associated with financial upkeep of the immigrants, of the potential assimilation, crime that occurs from it, all that far exceeds some of the taxes that we're seeing that should be coming from these mega wealthy. So when you take immigrants, right, and you put on the books that 100,000 immigrants got in, you have to remember that 100,000 immigrants are somehow financially partaking with the system, and the government is giving them money and giving them transportation and things like that. What's sad is that some of these immigrants are quite literally coming in and getting more money than the disabled, which blows my mind. Not usually the VA who receive a VA check and also a disability check, but usually the civilian-based disability programs, the SSDI and SSDI, unfortunately, those people are making less than those immigrants that are coming into this country. So yes, the immigrants are an issue financially. But I need to point out here, guys, immigrants are important to this country, not just because historically we as an American country, as a freedom-based country, bring immigrants in, and that's what we do. We create, a bigger freedom-based United States by more people coming in. Immigrants are important because we need immigrants to have more work product to continue to grow our GDP, our general work product, with creating products, services, all that stuff. And that's important because if we don't have more people making more things, then we start to shrink as a nation. And as you know, we kind of have to pay for stuff. We have to pay for the military. We have to pay for Social Security. We have to do all these things. And they're not cheap. Social Security is extremely expensive. All right, here we go. Another phone call. Okay. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. How can I help you? Howdy, good sir. We are live on YouTube, so remember to use your fake name. Also, go ahead and here's the bottom line. Would you like me to answer a question, or would you like me to go ahead and run hearing questions with you?
Wait, huh?
Are you there, sir?
Yeah. I just need one question regarding. I went through the interview today.
Oh, hey. So real quick, I didn't get a chance to call you back. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to call you back later, but we're actually live on YouTube right now doing the YouTube show. Do you want me to call you after the YouTube show? Perfect, good sir. I'll give you a call right back after the YouTube show. So around 10:15, expect a call. Perfect, good sir. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, so that was current claimant who's just found disabled, but going through basically the pre-effectuation interview details. So I'll help him right after the show. Okay, so all right, let's see. Pinch Runner. COVID rescue packages are the biggest transfers of wealth to the elite in the history of the United States corporation. Oh, you didn't know we really are. Yeah, of course we're a corporation. We are, people are always talking about basically this whole country being communism. It's not communism. It's a monopoly. The United States is the biggest corporation. They control everything. That's what it is. It's a capitalized version of monopoly. And people are the chattel. They're the things that create work product that they tax, and then they use their money however they want as government officials, which is unfortunate because if all of you knew how to write bills that could become law, you could force the politicians to go ahead and do your bidding, which would be, people wouldn't care about Trump. They wouldn't care about Biden. They'd care about what you wanted. So that's why I'm finishing spaceconstitution.com. And then the next thing I'm doing is basically how to write a bill. I'm gonna make it like a law school class. I'm gonna literally teach you like a law school class, although I'll make it simpler because law school classes, you had to read 100 pages in a very complex book by the next class, and it's not a fun experience. Let's see, Leanne, I had around 10 biopsies plus removing my thigh. Okay, gotcha. Purple Passion, I had it done 2 years ago and it wasn't that bad. Healing vibes, okay, good. Let me see through here. Had PFT, there was a change in results, blah, blah, blah. Okay. What to expect when claim starts in Colorado and needs to switch to Ohio, get a new lawyer in Ohio. So Life by the Sea, you can keep your lawyer. That's fine. You don't have to switch lawyers. But keep in mind, are you happy with your attorney? Do they have a plan with you? What's the plan? Because remember, a lot of this stuff is you're shooting for certain medical diagnostic impressions. You're shooting to get all the things that support that medical diagnostic impression so that basically the adjudicator, the medical consultants at the DDS levels, initial filing reconsideration, or the ALJ at the higher level, at the OHO level, will basically look at it and say, okay, cool. I believe this person is disabled. Let's see. So Florida couple says, Cheyenne, will you call me and sing puppy love to me? Lol, I'm sure she will. All right. Pinch Runner, I've written bills. Awesome. We'll do it again. Awesome. And let's see. I am a bill like on Schoolhouse Rock. That's right. I mean, it's not going to be that good. I just want to set some expectations here, guys. When I write this, how to write a bill thing, it's not going to be like a song where you'll remember it for the rest of your childhood like I did. It's not going to be that good, but it's gonna step by step walk you through how you're going to approach this thing. I really do want to teach you guys how to do what these politicians do, because if you were so here's the thing: if you were to see essentially like what the job is of a politician, you would realize that 90% of what the politicians do, in my opinion, is underhanded crap. And 10% of it is working on bill writing. That's basically the politicians, their job is to see what the people want and then write a bill and then push that bill. That's their job. That's their whole gig. But obviously, that's only 10% of what they're really doing right now because of how politics works. Okay. See, I mean, that's to be taxed on. They do not get benefits from medical without full Social Security. Okay, gotcha. Please run for governor of Florida. I would. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think I'd ever really want to run for governor or county commissioner or mayor or any of those things because I am not good with politics. I have some very strong liberal ideas. I have some very strong conservative ideas about things. And what I wanted to do was actually create a list of all of my beliefs, post them, and let you guys beat the hell out of them, and then see if I could defend them. And I thought that would be like a really cool way to do it, because one of the things I think we should have as Americans is that I think national parks should be free upon entrance for all Americans. If they have people from outside of the United States that want to visit these national parks, they should have to pay. But due to the massive amount of taxes we pay, they should, in my opinion, have free access to these national parks. I really do. I really do. I think that's a basic American heritage site, right? And I think that, to be fair, we should have access to it for free. I mean, that's our birthright as Americans, or naturalization right. All right, so let's see. Pinch runner. Yes, that's what I commented last night about Schoolhouse Rocks. I'm just a bill. Okay, so for a couple of Mr. Ryan, good. Pinch runner. The politicians spend all their time fundraising, and then when they're elected, they appear their fundraisers, and the cycle continues. People, yeah. So pinch runner, you're right. I mean, that's kind of the thing with politics. You can't run unless you have money. It's kind of like these big box law firms. They're mass advertising. You can't really be competitive on an advertising level with them unless you have their kind of money to advertise. And most of them, and that's part of the problem. Like if you look at like the Morgan & Morgans, the Bender and Benders, they're like the Walmarts and the Home Depots of the law system. They're the mega corporations that started 40, 50 years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And as a result of that, they just have this massive stockpile of, basically money that they were able to save over time. Also, the law was very different back then. It was much more Wild West. And you had, oh shoot, I missed a call here. Hold on. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott with Disability Resolution PA. We are live on YouTube. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you?
I just have a specific question I'd like to ask. This is on Mr. Brighton, actually.
Okay.
Yes, I am calling in here because with what I'm looking at here, in between the disabled community being not connected into the hate crime statute here through the racial intimidation statute, in alignment with the fact that we can be removed from respirators based upon legal statute here in the state of Michigan, and many other areas. I'll be frank with you. I really believe that it's a infringement of the Equal Protection Statute of the Constitution. I'm wondering if there may be a case in place here.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. You can send me an email and I can look it up. So walk me through the fact pattern and the details, and give me kind of like an example of how it would play out.
Well, I mean, in a broader sense, if you look at this, I'll just give you an example. In particular, the hate speech statute. Every other minority class is literally attached to this, except the disabled community directly. What this does is that it creates an imbalance culturally. If you look at other aspects of the culture here in the state of Michigan, I mean, let's look, for example, the elderly and disabled being put in with COVID patients here less than a year ago. I mean, it looks like something Dr. Mingala might do. I'll be frank with you. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, it was a bad move. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And thousands of people have lost their lives. I would say that the behaviors that I see here by the state of Michigan is much more unhealthy than many other states. If you look at it, just the fact that every other group is protected under civil rights statute and the disabled are ignored, I don't know any other states of doing that way. I know we have 11 states that don't incorporate hate speech into disabled people into their hate speech statute. However, Michigan, I believe, is the only one that incorporates every other minority class and specifically ignores the disabled community. And in doing that, I believe that is a direct infringement of the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution directly.
So how would you change it?
Well, I would think, this is just me thinking this, I think if someone were to file a lawsuit on behalf of the disabled community directly, that would put social pressure on legislators. It would look awful in the press. And I think something like this, even if it didn't make it to a courtroom, would create a forward momentum that would alter parameters at the governmental level in the state of Michigan. I don't think as a state in the state of Michigan, I know that you live here as well, I don't think that there seems to be a movement supporting the disabled in a productive and healthy way. There's several areas across the board, but I just want to focus on those in particular that I described. And again, when you have people being put into nursing homes with people who are sick, knowing that what happened in the Princess cruise ships, and there's other states where that has happened in particular. But if you look at across the board, it appears to me that across the board, in every area, civil rights are being limited for this particular class of individual in ways that no other group is being forced to have imposed upon them. And that's something that I think there should be some type of legal avenue to create accountability. And I think a lawsuit would be a good way to do that, possibly.
So, and let me just kind of summarize for people. What you're talking about is your state has grabbed a bunch of special class of individuals, minorities, but not the disabled, and they've included them in protection statutes. And you're arguing that the 14th Amendment through the Equal Protection Clause, which is basically where, no person may be denied equal access to justice of, the laws. You're saying that those laws should also be applied to the disabled, and therefore those who died that were older as part of nursing homes should be allowed to, essentially, the people on behalf of their estate should be allowed to sue the state and then potentially waive the state's immunity to have a finding against them financially.
I believe that would be absolutely correct. Well, even if it doesn't make it to court, the fact that this would be brought up as a lawsuit would create a volume of communication, would create pressure on Lansing. And I believe that would, in turn, create a forward momentum that could make change. I just don't think that the disabled community at large is getting that voice in those areas that are around civil rights. And I think it trickles into other areas, including, in particular, how Social Security disability is managed. Across the board, if politicians see that the disabled community doesn't have the strength to hold, politically and socially, to hold accountable anybody who's taking action against them, they become the perfect victim. And this type of thing takes shape, I think, pretty quickly here with what I'm seeing, because, again, I do feel very strongly, if you look across the board at what's happening in between, people having ventilators taken off them in Oregon, what's going on here in the state of Michigan that I described, and many other places, including New York with Como, I believe that there is genocidal behavior taking shape against the most vulnerable.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Against those on Social Security in general, not just the disabled. For sure. Absolutely. Here's the thing that scares me the most, though, about this. I just want to share this with the group. This last year, Donald Trump signed a executive order making it against the law for anybody in this country to communicate with the International Criminal Court, the ICC, directly, while this is going on, just to give people more context as to how bad it is. So we don't have the ability to reach out to the international courts if we have a president who functions in a dangerous way towards their most vulnerable citizens. So give them a reason.
It wasn't directly linked to that is the reason why he did it, per se, but I think he was creating an umbrella protection for himself so that he would never have to
answer to an international. Yeah. So, but explain to them why that's important for a person. Give them an example of a situation that would arise. I'm sure you'll hit immigration with it, but give them an example of a situation where that would arise, where a person would not be able to reach out to the international court, and why that's a problem.
I'm going to go back to what happened in the nursing homes here. Let's say you had and this is just an example, you have a person who is disabled, and and in mass they decide that they're going to, secretly start exterminating people based upon their tendency of older people to vote against another person. In this instance, if you look at all of the states where this took shape, it was in states that were run by liberal governors. And I don't mean to get political here. I don't trust Donald Trump. I think that the things that he did amounted to genocide as well, because he was trying to strip away the most basic rights of disabled people to educate themselves, to be able to expect opportunities in employment by stripping away guidance, both educational and as well employers, and then at the same time going after entitlements. This leaves a set of conditions that could easily trickle in. It could easily recreate the Irish potato famine. These people could wander around, have no way to get food, no way to get education, to get employment. It starts implementing in their formative years, and it impacts their most productive years, because if a person is disabled and they have no ability to expect equal treatment because they look different or present differently, they certainly can't make resources for themselves to survive from. And then when they reach out finally, when they can't do it, they try to reach out to get onto disability. You described yourself the conditions that would create. So what you have with that would be a situation where nobody who is disabled really has the ability to develop capital in a capitalist system. If you don't have the ability to do that, you can't survive. So essentially, it's very similar to what the Irish potato famine was. Let's look at it in those terms. We have a government that's designing a situation in open space where people can't create resources financially. And this is the part where that limit on how much money someone can make. Let's say somebody wanted to invest in like Dogecoin or something like that. They start a small amount of money. As soon as they get up to the 2,000 level, they're kicked off. And then all those resources they have to immediately spend out. That puts a person in a position where they can't create a future for themselves. They can't have enough resources to really get themselves started to start a business or to do anything. And so if you have a younger person with a disability, that really puts them in a position where they are thoroughly destitute, and as they get older, it gets worse. At this point, I think that it's important that people start filing lawsuits, start creating real word of mouth out there as well. Start using terms like genocide to describe the conduct taking shape, and really, start filing lawsuits. Get out in front of judges, say that this is what this looks like. If you do this, if you take these resources in this situation, and you follow it out, the logical outcome is going to be the death of large numbers of people. Nobody work around that. And with Donald Trump being in a position where he had 8 separate instances where he lost lawsuits based upon the ADA discrimination, and then he goes after the ADA directly through the ADA and Education Reform Act. What we ultimately have somebody who is using the presidency of the United States to exact retribution against a class of people that he doesn't value. But we also have Democrats who saw that equally, hey, these aren't my core people. I'm going to manipulate them, and I'm going to do harm to them as well. I think that it's coming from both parties. I think it's intentional. And until we start getting into the courts and start challenging these things, that snowball is going to keep rolling down and getting bigger and bigger, and it's going to come out, and this harm is going to come out in new and surprisingly shocking ways. And it's going to get worse, and it's going to get worse, because when people start doing stuff like what I'm describing, it can only embolden them if there's no challenge to it, there's no consequence to it, which is why I believe there needs to be a lawsuit.
So in summary, what you're saying is, and I just want to make it clear, because you're talking about a lot of doctrinal theories here and a lot of potential issues. What you're saying is they're telling us to spend more on taxes, right? To get taxed a higher amount to afford the people that are currently on the program. And then they're saying we need you to save more because that program's not going to be there in the future for you. And then they're saying, but guess what? The value of the dollar is becoming less and less because we need to pay for all these pet products that we have the government. And what you're saying is that's not how it should be. We should allow people to have more freedom, right? Create products, create companies, get a future, a way out of traditional disability. Now, they do have programs like Ticket to Work program and stuff like that, where they allow you 5 years to find your way out of the traditional disability path. So they do have aux programs, but I'm in full agreement. These auxiliary programs, they ain't even close to being enough. And look, the $2,000 limit that you can have in the bank for SSI. I mean, people say it should be 10,000. I'm not even sure it should be that low. What does $10,000 even buy nowadays? It buys a crappy RV? It buys barely a car. It buys some motorcycles. I mean, what does 10 grand even buy? So
absolutely. Again, it reminds me of the Irish potato famine. I mean, essentially, it's killing people without actually going out and doing it physically. It's creating conditions congruent with a premature death, especially during the times that we're living in with pandemic and what's going on and with new variants. You put people in positions where they don't know one month to the next whether or not they're going to have a roof over their heads during a timeline when they're already fragile physically. In many cases, disabled people are, and they have a higher propensity of becoming becoming sick based upon what's going on out there. And we're finding out more and more that there's possibility that as this disease progresses and they have these double mutations and things of that nature, the vaccine may not necessarily always work down the road. So we have a position here where we have people who are being destituted in terms of their ability to provide basic safety and care for themselves. At the same time, they're being put in nursing homes where they could be exposed with diseases, and it appears to me intentionally. And we have nobody filing any lawsuits, trying to challenge this immunity that's malignant. And then we have a president and two presidents, because the current president has not rescinded that order. So I consider both of them complicit in this. They realize that, well, we're protected by this. As long as I do this, hey, as long as Donald did this, I don't have to worry about this anymore. I can just leave that order in place. And what my concern is that if there's no consequence coming from an international level, there's no consequence coming from inside the government itself, and there's no consequence coming from the people, once they're going to change this and keep this snowball from rolling downhill and turning into a very serious issue, and I'll be frank with you, I believe it's lateral to genocide. I really believe it is. When you have thousands of people who are being exposed to a pathogen, and what appears to be intentionally, when there's evidence in place that when they did on the Princess cruise ships, when they tried to contain people in the same area with the same ventilation system, everybody got sick. And then with that same information in place, several states choose to put elderly people intentionally with COVID patients. Again, that's a very serious indicator that disabled people are not valued in their physical safety and well-being, that there's basic humanities being deferred in ways that no other community experiences. And when people can actually apply hate speech to the disabled, and then if anybody says anything back to them about their social class, they get arrested. That's an imbalance of power that starts at the social level, it climbs to the political level, and it encapsulates the entire sphere of experience that the disabled person has during their daily walk of life. It's draconian.
All right, so do you want me to summarize real quick and then tell you where this is all going? Because I have similar thoughts. I have very similar thoughts.
Again, my summary is that do you believe that it's important that we file a lawsuit, that we start getting some of these issues addressed inside of a legal parameter that forces there to be a higher pressure put on this? Why is this happening? Why is it that this is appropriate? If people can act out and cause this harm without any consequence, it's not going to stop.
So
we need to get into a courtroom setting to hold accountability at some degree.
A courtroom is good, but it's missing the major element, which is the change in the law that's going to exact the change in society to make everything come back to where it was. So I agree with you.
If legislators are in fear of being held accountable in a courtroom, they'll change what they're doing if it changes their potential for safety in terms of, I may get sued. I may end up, being called to task in a courtroom for this. That puts a different lens on their identity.
But is the courtroom the model that which should be used for legislative action? No, it's not. The courtroom is the last resort when they won't do something to fix the bill that's created to be made to law by the people. So I agree with you. I am literally the only attorney that I know who is making, for the purposes of supporting Social Security-based individuals, an entire series on how to create bills, how to look at bills that are already in existence, how to take from them, modify them, all of that. So now remember, there's another thing too. I'm also the guy who created the first open source Constitution website that's about to go live. And let me explain what's going to happen. You see, when Elon first came out, Elon was the liberals' wet dream. He was the guy who created the electric vehicle to punish all these gasoline, oil, diesel companies. He was the guy who was going to take on that whole thing. Remember that? Remember way back in the day when we looked at that and said, how will he ever compete? Now, the problem is everything's flipped against him. You've got Saturday Night Live, liberal individuals who don't want to be around him or participate with him. And here's what's happening. There's a new thing where they're trying to make Elon an evil figure. And here's why. Because if he's able to create a nation that's outside of the earth, right, then he's able to go ahead and create a super efficient, properly working regime. And the problem with that is that America doesn't want to see that success from the politicians that are in place. America likes taking as much money as they can and work product from those Americans. That's why America's not a big fan of the disabled, because if America has to pay for the disabled, then the disabled are taking from the potential work product the money that the government can use to fund whatever it wants to do. So ultimately, they're going to try and kill off Elon over the next 5 years, because as he goes and moves to basically have these, space stations, these colonies on Mars and things like that, at that point, America will start to lose not only its financial presence, but it will also start to lose people's faith and trust in the politicians at a higher level, meaning a brilliant person created a future civilization that would essentially be working on basic fundamentals that are for the, procreation of more of a colony that would work in space. That's anti-American, or at least it will be within the next 2 years. They're going to try and destroy him, which is sad because, unfortunately, without somebody like him, we wouldn't have electric cars like we do today. And I just want to point out, one of the problems that you guys should check out is that a lot of these climatologists, the Gretas, the things like that, they have a lot of aggressive terminology that they use, but very few of them actually come out with designs scientifically to take on and fix the problems that they're talking about. I don't think anybody disagrees that we'd all like to go and be a zero emission society. I don't think anybody disagrees that we'd all like to go to space and be able to utilize the resources of space. But I think the problem here is that we have elected officials who own the chair that they sit in. They weren't elected into it in the sense of they just made it by this or that. They own that chair. Somehow magically they keep getting in. And when you own that chair, you can continue to modify and change the system as you or other people who pay for you want it to be. And that's the Republicans and the Democrats. And I just want to point out one thing about Trump, though. In the very end, whether you liked him or hated him, and I had things I didn't like about him, and I had things that I loved about him, but here's the bottom line. When they got rid of him, when they sent him on his chariot out of Washington, D.C., the message that sent to me above everything that happened was, if they can silence Donald Trump, then they can silence anybody. And that's the exact reason I made that Martin Luther King video, because Martin Luther King was silenced. Trump was silenced. If they can silence people like that, and Trump was bigger than Martin Luther King. There wasn't a person on this planet, other than maybe an island somewhere with people who don't have any access to electronics. He was the biggest person. Everybody knew his name, and they could silence him. Just consider that. Consider that. Good or bad, they could silence him, which means they could silence you and me and anybody else.
I understand what you're saying. I do. I just think that there needs to be consequence for these people. That's why I go the judicial route over legislative. I just don't want to change the future. I think the people who've implemented and done harm to people who have already damaged by the conditions rendered, that needs to be held accountable. I mean, I feel like the Nuremberg principles are being augmented here. I really do. Or abrogated rather. I really feel that things have reached that level in our culture, and if politicians aren't held accountable, like you mentioned, if they own the chair and they also have no foreseeable consequence for their behavior, what's there to stop them from? I mean, we all know what a bully does when he gets away with hurting somebody, and he continues to
the crime spree.
He just reaches further and further, and that's what I'm seeing.
All right, now
And
explain
I
to them
think that
Nuremberg, because a lot of these people are not going to know. A lot of the viewers are not going to know what that means historically, why it's relevant. Give them a little backstory.
I'm sorry, maybe I didn't pick up on that last bit of what you said there.
Give
Why
them a
that's historically
backstory as
relevant.
to Nuremberg and essentially why it's relevant, because it is relevant. But yeah, give them a backstory.
Well, if we want to look at the Nuremberg principles, and they're very at their very root, what it is that it's a concept that simply that people are responsible for their choices regardless of what government they work under. And if you look at the Nuremberg trials in particular, the doctors' trials and that larger scope of what had occurred during that timeline, we held these international trials for the atrocities that occurred in Nazi Germany, and and that's where these principles came from. Each and every one of these people, what they say, I was just doing my job. I was just doing what I was what my government told me to do. And as long as, and again, that's why I believe there's an abrogation of these principles, is because our government is actually acting in a very similar way to a lesser magnitude, but definitely in a similar manner. Again, when we see elderly people, disabled people being put in positions that could cause a foreseeable death to those individuals. And when we don't do something to hold our government accountable by challenging that doctrine that allows for states and nations to have blanketed immunity regardless of what conduct they implement. At the same time, we have people at the highest level creating edicts that basically state that if we go outside our country to try to hold those people accountable through the same tribunals, it doesn't work. Why is that happening? You go back 60 years, we were taking part in them, in those very tribunals, and now we're trying to blanket ourselves from them. What does that tell us about our direction, our trajectory, and the well-being of our most vulnerable citizens in kind?
So to summarize, America comes to the people and says, we want to take your guns away. America comes to the people and says, we want to go ahead and limit your access to international courts. America comes to the people and says, we want to tax you more, and then we want to go ahead and make sure you're saving more too, because the program may not be what it is right now in the future when you need it. America comes to its people and says, the disabled, well, we're going to need to go ahead and rethink this thing and relook at disability benefits because there's not enough money. But then you got to sit back and you got to wonder, who are we trying to protect if we're not trying to protect the Americans, right?
100%.
So that's kind of I think your summary here is, yeah, you need the legal, you need the court system. You also need the legislation system. And frankly, you need brilliant ideas. That's the whole idea with Space Constitution, is that it lets anybody come up with anything. And the whole idea here is that I realized at a very young age that there was no way for me to be a genius and create all these things that were needed to figure it out. So hence the Space Constitution is that anybody can go on there and post any idea that they want. And the whole idea behind that is that ultimately, I'm hoping that the human race will have the genius needed to create its future, because they're using literally supercomputers to run algorithms to figure out how to manipulate and shape the human race into being essentially a slave race that pays for whatever the governments want it to do. And that's scary, but it's a way to mass manipulate the population. And, remember, one of the biggest, without a doubt, things that the United States government has to pay for, deal with, however you want to put it, is our Social Security people. And, the sad thing is, just to remind everybody, the base fundamental of Social Security was exactly what its title is. It's that you, as a human being, will be secure in case something happens. It is an insurance program all the way around your retirement, to insure you when you're older so that you have food, to insure you when you're disabled so that you have food, to insure you, when you're a child and something happens to your parents and you're insured through a portion of the. It's an insurance program to make sure that we don't have a bunch of essentially homeless people trying to steal from, Walmart and Wawa and, yada, yada. And the reason we have that is because, unfortunately, the country is not doing well enough for people to earn enough in their lifetime to be able to successfully retire properly. We sort of had it in the 70s. We sort of had it in the 80s. We were losing it in the 90s. By the mid 2000s, we had lost it. So I actually started to create a video. I hadn't finished it yet, but I guess I'll tell you about it here. I went through each 10 years, decades, going all the way back to basically 1990, or rather 1900. And at each decade, I defined what the American dream was. And it basically went to 1970, and then in 1980, everything changed. We got away from the single family house with the 2-car garage and the color TV. And then we started to get into the, well, what could we have? How many big diamonds could we have, and multiple cars and a tank and a this? And we started to basically get manipulated heavily by Hollywood. And Hollywood was now the new form of suggesting to people what they could potentially have if they just wanted more and worked harder for more. Yeah, it was propaganda. And Hollywood has been that for the past, 40 years. And as a result of that, we now have, it's like light bulbs. We have producers that make light bulbs that have chips in them that will die no matter what within a certain amount of time. So you have to buy more light bulbs. They can make a light bulb that will outlive 1,000 years. They don't, because they can't make money that way. Same thing with diamonds. They spend a lot of time and money telling women that the man is supposed to buy them a diamond, and the bigger the diamond, the more the love, the more wow, the more, oh my goodness. It's just all a bunch of bullshit. It's all a bunch of crap. And unfortunately, people fall for it because the general American populace is highly uneducated. And as a result of that, the general American populace is watching these, videos about, what was it, WAS, and, they're watching these types of videos that, promote the idea that they need this and that. And oh my God, it's so exciting. The problem is this: the American public needs more education, but not traditional education. They need education in coding. They need education in bills. They need education in cleaning. They need education in pet care. They need education in child rearing, like the basics. We need education. We need education in cooking. We need education in sewing. We need education in welding. The basics. We need these things.
Family structures, some of the things you described would have traditionally been managed during the family network, but with the deterioration of the family network, I think that comes from the center, and that does come from the top. I believe we have so many complexes working. I mean, the criminal industrial complex. We have big business. We have all these influences. I think a lot of the reason that these things aren't being taught in the home is because of the conditions rendered. And I think that critical thinking has been stripped from our educational process. And I do think that big corporations have a lot to do with that. If people are fighting each other in a gladiatorial way, the people up in the rafters watching, and this is a good example, they can do whatever they want to. And many of the things you're describing are set around that. If we're pitted against each other, if people think, oh my God, that disabled person is the person that's is causing me this problem because they absorb this resource, they don't, and we're pitted, and we're at the very bottom, and we're pitted against each other. We have powerful corporate interests. We have powerful, people who run the government, all able to act out because we're focusing on each other instead of them. It's distract and deploy. Distract and deploy. I really believe it comes from that place.
Look, I mean, and you got to understand, the American people make a lot of money. They make a lot of products. They make a lot of services. So if you can harness that like China did and basically make them all slaves to essentially a system of equity, which is what Biden's trying to do. He's trying to get rid of Equifax, TransUnion, stuff like that, and have the United States act as the only government that basically controls what people can go ahead and get from the bank. In that instance, I mean, you can enslave an entire race of people. And if you do that, then you can take trillions of dollars from whatever they're making and spend it however you want. It is a brilliant way to take over essentially a large, populace and make them do what you want. The only problem is slavery has always failed. It failed for the Egyptians, it failed for the Nazis, and it's going to fail for Biden. So, yeah.
It's very sad, but I just, I appreciate you just taking time out of your day to talk about this, because I don't think that this particular subject matter is getting the light of day it really needs. And that's why I was so passionate about, you've seen some of my comments before on your videos. I'm going to keep going like that. Each first time I see new people on there, I'm going to ask them, do you want to try to get involved with Disabled Rights Matter? Go out and just talk to a few people about what you know and what I shared with you. And I think that people need to have that sentience that sometimes disabled people have been some of the brightest people and have contributed the most. Stephen Hawking, Abraham Lincoln, Let's look at people like Nikola Tesla. Some of the brightest people that have ever drawn breath on this planet are disabled. And many of them have experienced massive mistreatment and have still contributed. But there's still this understanding amongst the general populace that somehow disabled people don't contribute. I don't agree with that, and I think that if we reframe that and let the people know that we're being pitted against each other, and that there's more of us than there are of them, and reframe it that way, I really do feel like something good could come from that. I really do. Just getting out there and again, disabled lives matter. We are being targeted more than any other minority class. 50% of police shootings are against disabled people. We need to go out and make that change, and part of that is just going out and talking to several people a day about this, like you're doing. You're doing it better than anybody is. You really are. But this has to happen, and it has to happen organically within our own community. The disabled community to go out and do this and come together. We may have to learn. We may have to be like the African American community was, have that civil rights movement in the same way. Otherwise, it's not going to change. It's just not.
Well, and that's something I'd like to point out, which is that Martin Luther King, when he made that speech, had more rights than a current American does. And that's an interesting thought, that Martin Luther King, 100 years after Abraham Lincoln, basically made a speech, and that speech, while he was making it, he had more rights, freedoms, and liberties in the United States than current Americans do. That's interesting. Now, his complaint was that those rights and freedoms for him were not being utilized, basically, as you started your argument, under the 14th Amendment with equal protection clause, meaning that they should be applied equally. Like, African Americans should be included in all of the equal treatment that people have and the protections that they have. He was right. He was getting a bad deal because America was not basically, giving them the freedoms and joys that other people had. But I will say this. They had on the books more freedoms and more rights than the current population of the United States. That's interesting. Didn't take that long. He didn't pass away that long. So, yeah. All right. Well, good, sir. Let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and I got to answer a few questions on here.
Absolutely. I've been monopolizing time, and I apologize for that, but I thought it was so important.
Yeah, no biggie. I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions. But good sir, have a wonderful night, and make sure you catch up with me in the future about Space Constitution, because we are looking for people who want to fight, and we are looking for administrators to help guide people and stretch their mind and get creativity out of them.
Outstanding. That's something I will definitely do, and thank you for the invitation in that arena.
Thank you, good sir. Have a wonderful night. So, guys, what I would say is, okay, so there was a question. Yes, I pasted. I'm sorry. Let me answer it. There it is. Hi, waited for my stimulus to pay back taxes. Got it. The day I got it, so you got your stimulus funds, LLC filed a tax deed. So do you mean like the county filed a tax deed against you because you hadn't been paying your taxes, and now they wanted to put it to auction? Now I have to pay all 3 years at once. I'm going to lose my home. Is there anything in the ADA that can help on SSDI? Oof. Property tax assistance, yes. I don't think the ADA has it, but I think it might. I don't know. I'd have to go look at it, because remember, I don't think it would be the ADA. I think it would be more of like the auxiliary programs that came off of the ADA. I think you should look into Christian Network Assistance, because they sometimes have some property tax assistance. I think you should look into county assistance, because disabled people do share in certain rights when it comes to paying for property taxes. You could also potentially be able to take out a small loan to cover them. I mean, how much money are we talking about here? What is the Space Constitution thing about? So, Steffi, basically, I created the first open source constitution where you can write in whatever rights and freedoms you want. If you want free ice cream, you can write it in, and we'll look at it. And the whole idea is that basically we're going to create a future constitution that is not just for Earth, but also Earth and other planets and space stations and things like that. We're going to modify all the constitutions that are out there to make a newer one, a better one. And we're going to do that by creating an open source, this guy right here, an open source platform for people to communicate and talk about ways to make things better. and then we're going to use that to basically create a better constitution. It's just a crazy idea. Only an idiot would come up with it, but I did, so we're going to go with it. All right, so let's go. Okay, so basically, I was behind 3 years investment corp, made, filed. So GB, do this, because we're kind of running out of time here. It's 9:57. Send me an email with it. I'll try to get to it over the next couple of days. But I would search to see about rental assistance, and then see if you can tap into basically, property tax assistance. And just so people know what he's talking about, I wanted to get into buying properties this way. I never did, because I seem to always become poor because I'm always like spending money on like claimants and stuff. But the bottom line is this. And I just bought a big house and I've been working on it and stuff, so yada yada. But the way it works is this: people who have money want to buy properties from people who can't pay their taxes. The way that they do that is through tax deeds. And tax deeds are basically where somebody who can't pay their taxes over so many years, the county will say, "You didn't pay us our taxes. How dare you?" And then they'll send that property to auction. And now if somebody can run to that person ahead of time and buy that property from them, then they get the property. Or if that property goes to auction, whoever's the high bidder gets that property, unless the person can go ahead and pay their taxes before auction. So basically, GB, if you're in a situation where like you just got the notice, you have months usually until they go ahead and do the auction and yada yada. You're going to have to pay like the fees and the fines and the bull on top of the 3 years. But the bottom line is you do have a little bit of time to make the grade and pull it together. Just, so I'm short $2,200. That's not much, man. You could get, honestly, you could honestly, like, GB, if you wanted, like, if you had, actual proof that you were in a bad situation, like if you had proof of the documents that you were short that and you paid that much into the county and stuff like that, I'd be willing to start like a GoFundMe page, and I'd make a donation to it to go ahead and help you out and see if other people will put in a little bit of money so that you don't lose your property. I mean, I'd be down with that. I don't have any problems with that. Once again, me giving money away, but I don't have any problem with that. Like, to me, that would be helping a really, really good prize. Really, really good. So if anybody, I know we're doing that $25 thing tonight where it's for callers. But yeah, a fundraiser. Potentially, if you guys want, if GB can produce documentation to show that he truly has a tax deed situation problem where he could lose his property as a disabled person, I'd be willing to donate that $25 to basically GB. And if he wants to set up a fundraiser, I'd be willing to donate those $25 right off the bat to help him out. So if you guys would be okay with that, we could always do that. So we have the first vote for GB. Excellent. Garden, thank you. Excellent. Very good Florida couple. So excellent. So if you guys want to go ahead, whatchamacallit, and okay for GB. Excellent, Linda. So GB, this is good. This means that you're getting the $25 no matter what. I don't think anybody else is voting for anybody else, but they can if they want to. John Warwell, GB, excellent. Mary G, GB, perfect. Donna, GB, perfect. Gabriel's Tears, GB, excellent. Florida couple wanted to go to Garden. Garden, we can always work something out. We can always work that out. we can always work something out. So okay, cool. All right. So GB, you have a job. GB, your job is to open up a fundraiser on, GoFundMe or any one of those places, and then reach out to me, and I will make a donation to that fundraiser. And let's see, and then I'll basically post it on my comment section. I'm not totally sure how it all works. I think I've fiddled with it once, but then I didn't really go back to it. I might get Cheyenne to help me out with it, and then I'll go back and fiddle with it some more. But bottom line is that I would say this: let's see if we can help GB out and basically get him enough funds to pay off his house. If you can donate a dollar is good. I'll use I'll put the help out there, the help request out there, and see if we can do anything. And then I know they make videos where you can like donate, like fundraise for a good cause or something. I don't know how to do that with my channel, but the channel's got like 25,000 subscribers now, so we might be able to do one of those. I don't know. If any of you guys could figure out how that works, that'd be amazing. Yes, Wolfgang, you can always vote for yourself. So 5,700, you got 2K. It looks like you need 2,200 or maybe a little bit more. To get 1,300 third month, I still need 20. Yeah. So GB, bottom line is, if you could go ahead and set that up. The late fees are terrible when it comes to that county stuff. If you could set that up, and the 18% is really terrible too. If you could set up one of those things, shoot me an email and a text, make it easier for me to find it. I'll go ahead and make the donation. And Wolfgang, I see you there. With the 25. Let's see, is GB a veteran? Oh, that's true. They do have veteran assistance specifically for mortgages and things like that. You could always do like a quick little reverse mortgage thing too. But anyway, guys, it's now 10:03. I know we started a little bit late, but I am super tired. I do have to go to the USPS and then I have to come back and submit a brief. Thank you so much. Yeah, Cheyenne, thank you for putting that up there. I was using GoFundMe for Space Constitution and it got screwed up somehow and they refunded all the money to everybody. But bottom line is I didn't have issues with GoFundMe with any of the other things I had up there. So it is a good, valid site. So you can use it. They do take a percentage, but it's still a good site. Wolfgang, if you're having problems, don't worry about donation. I can always, help out a little bit there as well. If I can, just let me know what's going on. If I heard anything about the $200, there's no $200 raise update. People are not talking about it that I've been seeing that's meaningful. I saw some senators, Warren, pushing for details for Biden to do stuff. It hasn't even made many articles on the legacy websites for the news stations. Pretty much at this point, I'll have to make an update video, but unfortunately, guys, they're not spending money on the disabled. They're spending money on immigrants right now. That's kind of what they're up to. Wolfgang, you just email me. Guys, have a wonderful night. I'll catch you a little bit later, and we'll go from there. And congratulations to GB. You are the $25 winner for today, the May 6th, 2021 Disability Live event. All right, I'm going to bed. I'll catch you later. Well, I got to go to USPS. I'll catch you later and then submit the brief. Actually, I got to shoot some more videos after this because I'm about to finish the top 200. I'll catch you a little bit later. I will be up till 3, though. Have fun. Bye-bye.